Hello all, and thank you for checking out my second video. Today's video is compound interest, how it can work for you or against you. Compound interest is money earned or spent on an investment or a credit account. An investment account is going to be something like a savings account, and a credit account would be something like a credit card or an auto loan. Interest is earned on both the beginning dollar amount, which is also called the principal, as well as the interest that has already been earned or charged. When trying to figure out the future balance of a compound interest account, there's a formula you can use. I wish I could say it was simple, but it's really not. However, the good news is that there are a plethora of compound interest calculators on the internet that you can plug the numbers into to find the same information. Because the calculators are so much easier, I'm not going to make you suffer through going through this formula. However, if you are interested, you can see it on the current slide. If you'd like, go ahead and pause the video and try it out. In fact, here's your challenge. Use the online calculator and do the calculations manually and see if you come up with the same amount. It'll be fun. Trust me. I'm a nerd. Okay, moving on. So how often is interest typically compounded? Most of the time, an interest on a savings account is going to be compounded daily or monthly. More than likely, it's going to be compounded monthly, but there's going to be an occasion where you'll find a savings account that will compound it daily. On a credit card, you're more than likely going to have interest compounded daily. In worst case scenario, the interest on a credit account may be compounded constantly, which is bad, very bad. Why is it bad? Because as you can see here, the more often an account compounds interest, the higher amount of interest you're going to have to pay. Here I have a $10,000 loan for a 5-year term at a 5% interest rate. The difference between accrued interest on the two examples here isn't super large, but on an account that compounds interest constantly, the accrual is going to be huge. Here's a word of advice. Never, ever, ever sign up for any kind of credit account that compounds interest constantly. Now let's talk about borrowing versus savings. Since the more often the interest is compounded, the more interest you accrue, compound interest can be good or it can be bad, depending on whether you're investing or opening a credit account. And you want to keep that in mind. So essentially, in borrowing, you want compound interest less often. If you're saving, you want them to compound interest more often. Now let's take a look at a long-term loan and how much compound interest can accrue on a mortgage loan between a 10-year loan and a 20-year loan. For example, I have a $100,000 loan with an interest rate of 5%. If you look at the examples, your 20-year loan is going to accrue almost twice as much interest as the 10-year loan, which means that you're going to pay almost as much interest as you're going to borrow, as the amount of money you're going to borrow, because you're borrowing $100,000. But by the time you're done paying off your loan in 20 years, you will have to pay back $158,523.15. So essentially, you're only going to be getting $100,000 for that loan, but you're going to have to be paying back $58,523.15 more than that because of the amount of interest you're going to have to pay. Okay, so that was the bad news. Now let's take a look at the good news. Looking at this example, you can see the difference between a savings account you've been saving in for 10 years versus one that you wouldn't touch for 20 years. In this example, I have an initial deposit of $1,000, a rate of return, which is the interest rate, of 0.25%. Now this sounds low, but it actually isn't too terribly low as far as investments accounts go. Yeah, isn't that fun? You get to pay somebody 5% to borrow their money, but they're only going to pay you 1/4% to borrow yours. Isn't it great? Moving on. A monthly deposit of $50 is going to be added to each of these accounts. And as you can see, untouched for 10 years, your account will have a balance of a little over $7,100. And in an account untouched for 20 years, you'll have a balance of about $13,300. Essentially, the longer you save, the more interest you get. So the sooner you start, the more they'll pay you for your money. So here's the takeaway from this presentation. The more often interest is compounded, the more interest you can earn, or the more interest you'll have to pay. So be mindful of this whenever you're shopping around for a savings account or a credit account, and watch out for those loans that want to compound interest constantly. Because remember, the faster you add the interest, the higher the balance will be, and the higher the balance is, the more interest you have to pay. Thanks for watching.